Good morning, everyone. Yes, so thank you, and especially thank you to Barbara Mintz and Diana Candelejo for the support over the last few years and for really being the foundation of a lot of our growth in the last few years. I'm going to talk a little bit today about our experience as as a local vendor, as an aggregator, as well of local urban farmers and some of our smaller startup regional farmers, and then the impact this has had on our business and on consumers. And then I'm going to finish by talking about a couple of ideas about how we can uh, further the economic growth for our farmers with not only Newark Beth Israel, which has been our main partner, but throughout the system. Next slide, please. So, oh, I'm sorry, you can go back one. I'm looking at two screens here. Um, Okay, so we're an organization that's kind of the connective tissue between farmers and consumers, but specifically we've come from an urban farmer background. I live here in Newark and have been doing urban agriculture for 10 or 15 years now. So we're part of a network of local growers that are trying to get a foothold and trying to grow their businesses. It's estimated that nationally, African American farmers, for example, only about 1 to 2% of all rural land ownership. And so what we see here in New Jersey is that most of our farmers of color are on rented land and are typically urban farmers. We have a few exceptions to that, but kind of changing the equity in the farming industry is something that we're keenly aware of and working on. And there's a lot of efforts underway now to move more farmers of color, new farmers, women farmers, veteran farmers, and other historically underserved farmers into the industry. Next slide. And with that, we're obviously also being very aware here in the Newark community of our under-resourced and low-access consumer and food desert neighborhoods that Barbara outlined so well. And so this is a little bit about our growth in the past few years. We have been in the urban farming space for over a decade, but our organization is really focused and tried to be an ally and tried to listen to what urban farmers and urban consumers are asking for and what they need. And these are some of the highlights of the last few years of how we've grown. So we started out with this kind of building a network approach, being our own urban farmers to start, and then building a network with others. And then really, thanks to some of the investment from Robert Wood Johnson, as well as other partners, and now even USDA, getting more involved in the urban ag space. We've been able to in the past few years, I think, which is really exciting, is to pilot this virtual farmers market and to launch these farms to families share programs, which allow us to customize products from lots of different urban and local regional farmers and get them to different types of clients and address transportation issues as well as issues of poverty that can be barriers in that food system. Next slide, please. So earlier in some other presentations, metrics were mentioned. How do you know if you're being successful at what you're doing? Well, here's some of the metrics that we've started to capture from our pilot phase in 2020 up until now, and still growing. And again, this is a small grassroots effort turning into a business that can scale and can really send more dollars through to farmers, especially historically underserved farmers, and really with a focus on most of those sales being to our Newark community now, but then eventually in other parts of the system as well. We've done this through the pandemic. It actually was a time of a lot of growth and innovation here in Newark, and I'm sure around the state as well. The online virtual farmers market became an important tool, as did pickup points for prepackaged farm boxes that we would collect from multiple farmers, aggregate the products, customize them for folks based on their order, and then have them available for safe pickup. And it turns out that model is a way that a lot of people are still going, and we think will serve consumers, especially in urban areas, really well going forward. Barbara also mentioned the emphasis we've been placing on the food nutrition benefits programs, SNAP, WIC, and Senior. Really important here in our community in Newark and several other communities throughout the state where you all have anchor institutions to think about driving up the percentages of people using those benefits and making sure that they know where markets are, where online purchasing programs are, where box programs are, because those dollars should be going as much as possible into healthy food and not being left on the table. Next slide, please. So this rather confusing diagram, but just to show that UAC has become, we didn't expect to be, but we sort of became this supply chain organization for our community here as a connective tissue, like I said before, meaning that we kind of manage a lot of relationships. We make sure that people can place orders both for retail or now small wholesale purposes, or if folks want customized bags with the same sort of produce mix for an event that they're having, and the Farm to Families delivery program that we piloted with the maternal health clinic here at Newark Beth. These are all different work streams that we have, and we're able to do this very efficiently and with a small team with lots of great partners, including farmers, including other nonprofits here, and including a lot of institutions that have realized the pantry response has been great during COVID, but it's not necessarily as sustainable as actually building a supply chain that rewards farmers and helps them build their business. Next slide, please. Here's a little look at what is local. So this is just our original 2020 pilot. This group of farmers has now expanded. But we stayed within 100 miles for the most part. Actually, most of it was within 60 miles. We partnered with the Food Shed Alliance, who's based in Blairstown, New Jersey, but has farmers in their network throughout the state that they offer different services to. And they helped us connect with some of the rural farmers that you see here, mostly Warren and Sussex County based, a couple in Hunterdon County. And then we had a couple of other urban ag organizations within 10 to 30 miles. And then our core biggest producing local farmers here in the city. And so this was a balancing act between the hyper local farmers that were great and often great educators and great advocates for food, but maybe didn't have the scale that they needed that we needed to meet customer demand at markets and pick up boxes. And so we added these rural farmers as sort of a backstop, and kind of knowing all the while that as the local farmers grow their business and begin to scale, that we want to put a preference on them, right? Especially if they're right in the footprint of Newark Beth Israel in this case, to have their products sold first and foremost to their own community members. Next slide, please. Uh-oh.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Gotta love the technical glitches today.
Did I say something wrong? I missed a few slides. I don't know if you can go back one more. Oh, must be missing, or it doesn't like that slide. That's okay. You can go ahead. The slide that was missing just had a showcase of some great photos of some of our local and regional growers, and just to say that to show some of the faces of folks that are involved. But that's, I think, in the presentation that was distributed as well. As a community organization that's started small, we're learning together. We're growing along with our local growers. And like I said, there's a balancing there about the values that we place on our supply chain. So making sure that the smaller growers have the chance to make their first sale at a local farm stand, or have somebody order their products online, some new product that they just started, versus working with the more established farmer on maybe fulfilling a wholesale order to a restaurant or a larger nonprofit buyer or food pantry buyer, even in some cases, and just making sure that we're always paying close attention to where the dollars that are being spent through us are going, and if it's serving our mission. Excuse me. Next slide. Okay, I think you're a couple ahead of me, Diana. That's okay though. I'm going to go jump right in to show you guys the cooperative market that was built with the help of funding and support from Robert Wood Johnson as well as others. This is an online portal built on a system called Local Line that a lot of farmers are now turning to minimize the amount of time that they have to be, taking the risk of sometimes being at a farm stand and getting more pre-orders from customers. It also allows you to expand your product range and control your prices and your data. So it's very helpful for a food hub organization like us. I wanted to suggest to the group that this is something that really we found so far in our, even without a lot of marketing, has worked well for employees in your system. And I think can work well for people ordering their own custom farm boxes from local farmers going forward. Next slide, please. And so you see, it's just a storefront like any other online shopping. And again, kind of getting back to that theme that the traditional farmers market is nice, and believe me, we've cut our teeth on that for years and years. Setting up a stand and offering food, and all the education and engagement that comes with that is invaluable, especially in communities that have lacked food access. But the world is also moving towards online retail, as we know, and so having this option for folks, whether it's employees or other consumers in your community around your hospitals, this lets you sort, add quantities to a cart in a way that's very familiar for people. Next slide. You can look through by farmer, by category. You build your own custom box based on what we have available or what the farmers are telling us is available. And it also really cuts down on waste because we only order from our farm suppliers what you order. Next slide, please. The way that this works logistically here, just not to get too granular, but on a weekly basis, once you've created your shopping cart over the weekend, I think our storefront in Newark right now is open Thursday to Monday. When it closes, you're going to pick a delivery point. So your shares are usually ready by Wednesday. If you order over the weekend or into Monday, your shares ready by Wednesday or Thursday. You select your pickup location and time. This could be something that is easily expanded to multiple locations around one hospital facility. And then what's great about this is if one of the hospitals anchors it, we can also add additional locations throughout the community, especially as more farmers add on and more products are available. We can add places like schools and other nonprofit organizations, which we've done. And we last summer, we had 5 different pickup points happening throughout Newark. Next slide, please. And here's just a photo of some of the kinds of contents that you can get in your box. And again, we combine this with the traditional farm stand and find that this is a really great source of predictability and minimizing waste. So we know what people are ordering. We bring those prepackaged boxes. It also allows us to bring extra inventory to farm stands at the point of pickup. And people can pick up some extra things or find out about the online market for the following week. There's also no commitment. You don't have to order every single week like a traditional farm share program. You can order any week that you'd like. Next slide, please. So in the next few slides, I just kind of outlined a couple of different options. I talked a lot about the online custom farm box, which I think is based on our kind of research of this and our experience, trial and error experience with this. I really do believe that offering this to employees throughout the system will just be a great way to grow the business and to get more food to farmers and give people that feeling of interacting with multiple farms and still getting to customize what they want and when they want it. With seasonality in mind, of course, we are sourcing from local farmers, so we have seasonality constraints. But and on the next slide, I talked a little bit about the traditional farmers market stand. Again, we are a huge proponent of farmers market stands. We do know that in a lot of our urban communities, farmers struggle economically to make enough sales, which has resulted in them exiting our communities. So there's methods that can be employed of either subsidizing farmers to appear until the market is built up, or providing a backstop of purchasing so that they know that they're not going to lose or waste food. Maybe it's sold to an anchor institution and then goes out to a pantry or is distributed in some kind of way. So just so that the farmer and their staff, which are all, by the way, small businesses and very often are people in poverty themselves, are right on the poverty line. Many of our New Jersey farmers. We don't want them to come out and have to waste their time and waste their money. So it's just an important consideration in areas where markets are new. And next slide, please. Just to round out, wholesale procurement, the common market was mentioned. Zone 7 is another strong partner of ours, and we are actively partnered and also procure from these organizations. And these are our go-to solutions when we're talking about larger scale needs. So we're actively working with them on school procurement and anchor institution procurement, because it's not our intention to rebuild the wheel of people who have great supply chains. We do want to include some smaller growers that these guys don't often include, but we are happy to work with them in order to fulfill the needs of larger institutions, and kind of just help kind of broker that supply chain as well and be that last mile when they need it. Next slide, please. So these buzzwords of food is medicine and local is sustainable are important and true. But I just wanted to mention that these kind of mean nothing without a viable infrastructure and a viable business model behind them, right? Like, we can tell people that food is medicine and that they should shop local. And in many communities, that's just very difficult to achieve. But with some of the investments that you guys are making and have made, and hopefully will continue to make, I think we are building a very local based and very small business based supply chain so that people can actually practice these philosophies in every community, regardless of their income. Next slide, please. And here's just another look at some of our customers. These are some shots from Newark Beth, and also some of our corporate and other nonprofit partners around the community. Happy customers getting their farm boxes custom packed, and in some cases right during the height of the pandemic, where we had to take extra safety precautions. But as you can see there, this was a safe way for people to get stuff home. In many cases, we even did home delivery for folks that face transportation issues. Next slide. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation now. I'm happy to answer more questions. And I just wanted to again offer a lot of thanks and appreciation for this whole team and for what we've been able to accomplish. Looking forward to the next couple of years.